Hello and welcome to the agenda. I am Ajay Kaul. In this program today, we will analyze the predictions on upsurge in Indian economy. The IMF has predicted 12.5% economic growth for India for the current financial year. The RBI today predicted the growth to be 10.5%. Although the projected growth figures are slightly different, both IMF and RBI are painting a rosy picture for India amidst the coronavirus pandemic. However, at the same time, RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das today made it clear that the surge in coronavirus cases has created uncertainty over the economic growth recovery. Against this backdrop, we will try to understand the situation with two experts on economy today in the agenda. We have with us Mr. Abhishek Rajaram and Professor Aman Agarwal. But before we start our conversation, have a look at this small report.
The International Monetary Fund has predicted that India will have the fastest economic growth in the world in the current financial year 2020-21 at 12.5%. The Reserve Bank of India also projected a rosy picture of India's economic recovery amidst the coronavirus pandemic, forecasting 10.5% growth for the current financial year 2020-21. The RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das said the GDP growth for quarter 1 of the financial year is expected to be 26.2%. For quarter 2, it is expected to be 8.3%. For quarter 3, it is expected to be 5.4%, and for the last quarter, it is projected to be 6.2%. However, at the same time, he referred to the recent surge in coronavirus cases and said that it has created uncertainty over economic growth recovery. Talking about the quick economic recovery, Das said rural demand remains buoyant and the record agriculture production for 2020-21 augurs well for its resilience. Urban demand has been gaining strength on the back of normalization of economic activity and should get a fillip with the ongoing vaccination drive, he said. Firms engaged in manufacturing services and infrastructure polled by the Reserve Bank in March 2021 were optimistic about a pickup in demand and expansion in business activity in 2021-22, he said. Consumer confidence, on the other hand, has dipped with a recent surge in COVID infections in some states, imparting uncertainty in the outlook, he said. Das said the RBI decided to keep the repo rate unchanged at 4% and reverse repo rate at 3.35%. It also said it will maintain an accommodative stance. The RBI governor said that India's distribution program and its effect on ground are the two major factors that will determine global economic recovery. Mitigation of inflation would depend on the supply side measures and easing of international prices. So clearly conditions apply as we talk about the rebound of the economy. Bureau Report.
Now let's welcome our guests, Mr. Rajaram and Mr. Professor Agarwal. Welcome to both of you to the program. So I'll first go to Abhishek Rajaram about your initial comments on IMF predicting 12.5%. RBI says 10.5%. How realistic are these figures?
I feel that RBI is more realistic, and because RBI understands Indian economy much more than a foreign entity like IMF. Though there has been correction in the IMF figures, which they are saying earlier they had a very negative report for Europe. Now they say that Europe will grow, but the pace would be lesser than US. So they are saying that China would be growing fastest one, and on the second number we will be there, and then comes Europe. Oh, sorry.
No, I think new projection says India is the fastest this year, at least this financial year.
This financial year, but when we compare of total 3 years, because China was the only big country in 2019-20. So sorry, 2020-21, which has growth.
Yeah.
2021 because of COVID-19. Now, when we understand these figures, so these figures say that because whole of the world government, they pushed their reforms, they pushed the what we say relief packages, and results are now visible. The biggest threat to this growth is first, corona numbers are rising.
Yeah.
Even though vaccination has started, this is first challenge. Second challenge is inflation is not in control. We are having more than 5% retail inflation. Third biggest challenge which we are facing is our current account deficit is very high, which is growing at a very higher pace. And okay, corona is an what we can say rarest of rare occasion where we are not required to follow IMF guidelines. Okay, but again, we cannot go with say more than 200% deficit. And when inflation is currently at the rate of 5%, in next 3 to 6 months, if it is not checked, then it could go to double digit. When a normal common man doesn't have job security, or most of people have got pink slips, or they are working at a lower salary,
Right.
there has been salary cut, and there was no what we can say growth in last year. So April, May was something which we will be having lockdown. So hike for that year was not there. Bonuses didn't came last year, and this year also corona pandemic is coming at peak in March, April, May.
Yeah. We'll talk about the surge in corona. First, I want to go to Professor Agarwal about your initial comments on these figures. How realistic are these? 12.5 or 10.5?
You see,
Yeah.
as far as IMF is concerned, both the figures are quite realistic. We have always known that RBI has always had a conservative attitude towards giving out figures. And specifically because RBI is looked upon by almost all financial institutions and even public at large in the country. As a result, they are more conservative in terms of debating any figures. Not now, for historically decades now.
Now, as far as these figures are concerned, it is important to note that, when we look at IMF, which has actually upgraded by 1%, making it 12.5%, they still feel that the inflation is expected to be about 4.5% or so, 4.9%. Whereas in case of RBI, where they're projecting a 10% figure, 10.2% figure, they're projecting an inflation currently at about 5.2%.
Yes.
Now, this makes a major difference when we're actually looking at data, specifically calibrating some of these projections. So the inflation, which is CPI or WPI taken as a whole, which we are here debating CPI as of now, is playing a critical role in our projections. And that's where the difference in the projections also comes forth in terms of how much are we looking at, whether it is 12.5% or 10.2%. Now, when we look at also the perspective of IMF, since I worked with the World Bank in Washington, D.C. 20 years back, we have to look at numbers coming from all across different globes and different countries. And we know the kind of growth and the kind of impetus both of the vaccinations or the kind of critical illnesses because of COVID and other problems which are being faced by economies at large. Whereas when we look at situations like RBI, it looks at only data which comes in from within the country and what has been intra-comparisons which have happened in the past and which is expected to happen in the future. So it could be realistic, but then it does not have that holistic perspective which the IMF brings on table when they look at structures like how many people have actually, what percentage of population has been given the vaccination, what percentage of population has got impacted and interested, what kind of industries are growing and not growing as compared to the rest of the world. So from that perspective, both these figures, from my perspective, I think, are fairly realistic, specifically the triggering of the PPI inflation difference, which we see in both of them.
Yeah, but Professor Agarwal, as Mr. Rajaram was also saying that IMF is not based in India. They have analysts here in India, I know. But do they have the finger on the pulse? We talk about when MSME is still struggling. Okay, the unorganized sector is still in disarray. So given that situation, is 12.5% a realistic figure? Do they have the...
No.
Yeah.
I feel India has the potential to attain even much more than 12.5%, given the base being low last year. However, when I say realistic, yes, correct. IMF is not based here. But as I said, it has a holistic picture of what is happening globally, and they know how the yardstick is moving in every country and every region, as against what an RBI does. And RBI, amongst all these figures, as RBI as well as SBI chief economist from time to time has been declaring a very conservative figure, whereas other agencies like Moody's and others, which have been giving us also, have given us a better projection as compared to RBI. So, yeah, I'm not denying the projections here. As I said, the trigger factor has been the inflation. Because RBI looked at inflation at 5.2% as CPI, whereas IMF is looking at 4.9%, where there is almost a 300 basis points difference in the inflation figure itself, which is a huge component. It is not a small difference.
So
when we are looking at statistical calibrations.
So if I play devil's advocate, so IMF projections may be exaggerated, is it?
As I said again, I would not say they are exaggerated. I will stick to my point where I'm saying RBI's projections are always conservative, and they have been known to be conservative in nature.
Okay, Mr. Rajaram, as you heard that about India's potential because of the low we had last financial year, so is much bigger, as you heard Professor Agarwal saying. So what do you say on that?
That everyone knows. India's potential is untapped market. We have world's best brains. We have world's best officers. We have world's best prime minister. We have world's best finance minister. So of course we have potential. The question is who has the data and who has in-depth data. So RBI definitely has more data than IMF. Also, RBI can exactly tell what they are going to do, what government would be going to do. So they have more resources. Therefore, I would rely more on RBI data rather than accepting data by IMF. But again, if I say India has a potential of 20% also, but can we achieve?
Yes.
In last 7 years, our GDP growth has been slowing down because twin bombs were dropped on Indian, as in World War II, there were 2 atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. There were 2 bombs dropped on Indian economy. First was demonetization. Second was half-baked GST. They came with GST. They killed MSMEs with their idea of killing black money through demonetization. Then the remaining MSMEs were killed by half-baked GST. And without MSME, how can you think of Indian economy? Indian economy is run with the help of a formal economy and economy which are run by MSMEs. And rural economy is also in trouble. And closing night curfews is something which means Corona keeps during the day.
Mr. Rajaram, so now I'm coming to that. Even while projecting the growth of 10.5%, RBI governor today in fact said it, that there is uncertainty about recovery because of the surge in COVID cases again. So do you think that these will be again revised, these figures, given maybe after a month?
Of course, they have to revise. But I don't understand. Since May 2020, they are maintaining 4% repo rate. Okay. Then why is the need of bi-monthly meeting? During Corona pandemic, with a dynamic situation like this, you are maintaining a status quo. Then why monthly meeting? Make it an annual meeting. You just meeting bi-monthly.
But that is a technicality. But I'm talking about the figures, the economic growth recovery.
See, this has to be revised. It will revise. It will revise. Maybe positively, maybe negatively. We don't know how much would be the impact after end of June quarter. We don't know what would be the actual corona numbers. We don't know what would be the impact of vaccination.
Right.
Whether there would be lockdown again, a wholesome lockdown for country, or it would be bits and pieces. So we don't know. This is a challenging environment.
Right.
Government at a large are fighting with corona and on the economic front.
Yeah, there has to be a balance. So, Professor Agarwal, I'll come to you. See, as we know now, restrictions have started being put in place, night curfews, weekly lockdowns, and there are also apprehensions about a wholesome lockdown maybe in some states or something. So, there are already, lingering fears about curbs on economic activity. So, how realistic can be 10.5% even then?
Yeah, first of all, you see, RBI's data or even IMF data is not based on hearsay. It is not based on what newspapers or magazines or what news channels are projecting. It is based on fundamental data which comes from creditable sources. When it comes to IMF, it comes from governments of different respective countries. When it is a question of RBI, it comes from different departments which ultimately get into RBI. So it is not based on certain kinds of just hearsays or what is happening or what is not happening that they will make projections. So this should be very clearly understood by every one of us that these data are based on factual data and the numbers can vary based on what are the trigger values we take in terms of projection. Secondly, when you talk
Mr. Rajan, you will get a chance to counter.
I just want to ask one thing.
Let him complete. Let him complete after that. Yeah, Professor Agarwal.
Yeah. The second thing which you pointed out as to what is expected to happen, I really know where to see what is expected to happen. But what I can say is that first of all, it will not be appropriate for government to go in for such a kind of lockdown which we have seen in the past. Secondly, large amount of businesses, whether it is educational institutions, whether it is, kirana shop owners or it is small businesses, most of them have upgraded themselves to actually go on doing certain businesses activities online and trying to spread the products, services online through different modes.
I think
in the last 1 year.
Professor Agarwal, I don't think it is
what we were there last year.
Professor Agarwal, I don't think it is most of the traders have done. Maybe a few traders must have done online, but most of the traders go by traditional system of trading.
Now, you see, the supply chain, which was completely maintained and which has picked up even now, could not have happened if the small traders or small businessmen were not a part of the whole chain. What I'm trying to say here is, we are seeing as a phase today is we are much better prepared than what we were way back in March 2020.
Right.
And that's why it came up at random and we had no clue what was to do. Large number of traders were completely hand on belt. What to do? Everything was stuck up. Their whole stock was stuck up. They were not connected in any way. They could not supply. They could not open their shop. What to go about doing was a big question for them, which took almost 2 to 3 months or 4 months for them to resolve. And after July onwards, did they start looking at solutions to such a problem? They knew that it was not going away soon, so they had to look at solutions so that their businesses could pick up, which would not go the traditional way as it was going and happening in the past. So what I'm saying is now if something of this nature happens, these people, the traders, are a little better prepared as against what we were last year. So we are better in hand now as against, but as I said, it is not a solution which the government is looking at. They need to bring about a possible cure, a possible solution to the problem and get more and more people vaccinated and structured as against creating such kind of lockdowns and fears in the minds of the people.
Right. Yeah, Mr. Rajaram, you wanted to say something? Please.
I want to ask one question from Professor Agarwal. IMF has access to data which is listed in public domain. RBI would be having data access to some data which are not in public domain, and therefore RBI has more data about the Indian economy. Also, RBI would be exactly knowing what government action would be which would be not disclosed in public figures. Am I correct in my understanding or wrong?
Let me clarify on this part. Since I work with the World Bank, we used to get data from different departments and ministries of the governments of different countries. It was not data which we picked up from public documents. We did not make projections based on data in public documents or research studies. We certainly did quote some of these studies when we were making projections, given that we wanted to support our argument of what we are seeing and what we are looking at and projecting and why do we want to project that. But when it is a question of data and number crunching, this was hardcore data. Like, we did a recent study on banking recently, banking stability. And let me tell you, the data is picked up from the IMF data source, where the data on United States, Japan, banking, and even 2-3 other major countries' data is not available because they cannot project, because these countries did not give that data to the IMF. And that's why they could not publish the data in their data series as well. So it is not the data which is from public domain, it is specified critical data.
Through the government sources, You are sourcing through the government.
I'm asking what action government is going to take? Professor Agarwal. I am asking only one single line. Would RBI be having access to policy matters, what government would be going to take.
No, I think Professor Professor Agarwal agrees with that. That RBI has more pulse. I mean, have more data. He agrees with that. Better.
And I strongly oppose or strongly deny what Professor Agarwal has said, that if this time lockdown comes, then there would be lakhs and lakhs of traders and small businesses which would never be able to open their businesses again after the lockdown. Last time they would have managed with their cash flows of their years of savings, which has been wiped out because of Corona lockdown and less number of businesses. The pink slips which would be handed over this time would be huge numbers, and which would derail all sort of prosperity which we have achieved in, say, in a decade time.
Yeah, you are right. So, Professor Agarwal, as you are taking it forward from Mr. Rajaram, like traders already have now apprehensions about lockdown. I think in Mumbai, traders are already upset that because they are apprehending a wholesome lockdown, and apparently migrant laborers are also now preparing to leave Mumbai or other places. So that is now creating a more difficult situation, isn't it? We may be better prepared this time, but this situation is going to be very bad, I guess. What do you say?
No, I agree. Any kind of a lockdown, and that's what I'm saying time and again, that it will not be good at all for the Indian economy and the people of this country if such a lockdown is again announced or introduced. I really cannot take a call from the government's perspective. I don't work with the government.
No, we are only analyzing. We are only analyzing. We are not.
But what I'm trying to put forward here is that first of all, people at large are more better prepared now, whether it is small business or others. Secondly, when we looked at certain industries, I was shocked. The head of the president of the shipping industry told me one of the days at one of our conferences, and he said that the amount of profit shipping industry has made in the last 1 year in India has not been the profit they made in the last 1 decade. So there are some businesses which have actually seen a large amount of profit.
You are right. You are right.
But there are other businesses which have seen a large amount of losses also.
Yeah.
And this is a mixed bag which happens all the time. It's not something new.
So Professor Agarwal,
you are right. Businesses go up and which go down.
You are right that some industries, some sectors have made much progress. I mean, much growth. I have witnessed much growth. But at the same time, MSME sectors. And in fact, yesterday I was going through some startup figures. Most of the startups have incurred huge losses, like Zomato and all those which I was going through. That means if they can be crippled again if there are more restrictions, isn't it? And they can maybe collapse and finish.
I fully agree with you that the times would be very difficult, and some of them could also see the phase of closure if such kind of a thing is to be introduced. But as I said, that is not something that the government must do.
Yeah, so I think Mr. Rajaram will agree on that because what do you say, Mr.
Sir, I can only say that government should not bring a complete lockdown or a wholesome lockdown. Even the night curfews are against what we can say many sectors. For example,
food industry, restaurants, yeah, restaurant.
So they would, and cinema halls, malls. So they are paying rentals. They are paying rentals, and the footfalls are very low. The fears for corona,
but at this,
after vaccination,
but at the same, but Mr. Rajan, at the same time, government has to have a balance because 1,15,000 is the figure today, new cases in a single day, and it's rising. So
I do agree.
So there has to be.
Now who has to bring the balance? Who is responsible to bring in guidelines?
Of course, the government.
When the corona was defeated,
so you can give your suggestions.
Then the credit was for the government. And corona is very very complicated thing.
Right.
He don't work during the day. He works only in the night. He never works on the states where there are elections. So it was never in Bihar. Today there is no corona in Assam, West Bengal, Tamil Nadu. You can have huge rallies of 1 lakh, 5 lakh people.
Right.
And once trust me, if it continues and MCD elections are announced, for example in Delhi, the corona will be wiped out.
Right. So we had to close. I want to ask. Yeah, I want to go to Professor Agarwal for the last comments on this point about rallies. There are violations. So who is responsible for that?
I am in full agreement with my colleague here. It is unfortunate that some of these political movements have completely wiped off this fear of corona and thinking that there is no corona and this will continue. And this is where some of the leading leaders of this country who talk big words both from the opposition and from the ruling party are present. And I think that is something, a case of worry, and must be taken up by the Ministry of Health seriously and restrained, including the Election Commission, to bring in some restraint of holding such kind of meetings or polls or structures where, people's lives are put at stake on wherein we are talking of lockdowns, and on the other side you are bringing in rallies and people together without any precautions or, even basic mask wearing facilities as we see on television. Right. Even the media channels need to be brought into a phase where they go about actually predicting, at least saying that such kind of rallies are not right, where people are being massacred at the cost of corona, right, and not being taken care of by various governments, state governments, city governments, and so on and so forth. And for that, I think both the DMs and the others are responsible, and they must be taken to the task if they're not doing they're not doing the job right.
Right. So it is a very catastrophic situation if such, scenes continue. But the program time today is over. Thank you both of you for participating. This is all in the agenda today. Thanks for watching. I'll be back with another important topic tomorrow. Till then, goodbye.